Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
All right, let's get right into it. Today we're going to tackle a real classic automotive head scratcher, that P0171, P0174, and P0308 code combination. You know the one. If your scan tool is lighting up with this confusing trio, don't sweat it. We're going to break down exactly what your engine's trying to tell you and give you a clear, step-by-step plan that could save you a ton of time and a whole lot of money.
So you plug in your scanner, right? And bam, these three codes pop up. It feels like your engine is screaming about three different things all at once. You've got a lean condition on one side, a lean condition on the other side, and then a misfire on just one cylinder. It's a really confusing message for sure, but it's actually telling you one very specific story.
And this is the single most important thing to get straight right from the start. This is not a bunch of unrelated failures happening at the same time. Nope. In almost every single case, these three codes point to one single underlying root cause. You just have to think of it this way. Two of the codes are the clues, and one of them, well, that's just the symptom.
So let's start with the basics. Those P0171 and P0174 codes both mean System 2 Lean. This is your car's main computer, the ECM, basically shouting that the air-to-fuel mix is way off. It's seen too much oxygen in the exhaust, which can only mean one of two things. Either the engine is getting a bunch of extra air that it doesn't know about, or it's just not getting enough fuel.
Okay, so why two codes then? Well, P0171 is for bank 1. That's the side of the engine that has cylinder number 1. And P0174 is for bank 2, which is just the opposite side. The fact that you're seeing both of them pop up at the same time, that is our biggest clue by far. This isn't some little problem on just one side of the engine. And that is the key takeaway. When you have lean codes on both banks, you are dealing with a global issue. It's affecting the entire engine all at once. And you know what? That's actually great news, because it lets us immediately rule out a whole bunch of stuff, like a single bad fuel injector. We're not hunting for a small time crook, we're hunting for a bigger culprit. So what about that P0308 misfire on cylinder 8? Is that a separate issue? Absolutely not. That misfire isn't the cause, it's the effect. Think of it like the weakest link in a chain. When the whole engine is either starved for fuel or getting way too much air, one cylinder is going to be the first to complain. Cylinder 8 is simply the first one to throw its hands up and start misfiring under the stress of this big global lean condition. Okay, so we know we're looking for a single culprit that can mess with the whole engine. Let's start profiling our prime suspects. What kind of failures can actually cause this exact scenario? The suspects pretty much fall into three main categories. First up, you've got fuel delivery issues. We're talking about a weak fuel pump or a clogged filter that just can't supply enough gas to any of the cylinders. Second, a big air intake leak, and specifically a leak that happens after the air gets measured but before it splits off to each side of the engine. And finally, you could have a faulty sensor that's feeding the computer bad info, causing it to mess up the fuel mixture for everybody. Now this is super helpful because it tells us where to look first. While any of those suspects are possible, experience tells us that fuel delivery problems, like a dying fuel pump, and a dirty or just plain bad mass airflow or math sensor are by far the most common reasons you see this exact trio of codes. So with that information, we can put together a really smart diagnostic game plan. The key here is to be efficient, right? We're going to work from the easiest and cheapest potential fixes on down to the more involved ones. There's no randomly replacing parts here, just a clear, logical process.
And here's our roadmap. First, we'll start by cleaning the MAF sensor. It's easy, it's cheap. Then we move to the most critical test of all, checking that fuel pressure. After that, we'll look for any big vacuum leaks, and finally, just to be thorough, we'll double-check the parts on the misfiring cylinder.
Okay, your very first step, before you do anything else, is to clean that math sensor. If it's dirty, it'll tell the computer there's less air coming in than there really is, and so the computer injects too little fuel. This is an incredibly common problem, and a can of MAF sensor cleaner is cheap. Seriously, this simple 10-minute job fixes a huge percentage of these cases.
All right, so what if cleaning the MAF sensor didn't solve it? Now, this becomes your number one most critical diagnostic test. I mean it. Do not skip this. Don't guess. You have to test the fuel pressure. This is the test that will tell you definitively if your fuel pump and filter are up to the job. And here's the crucial part. You can't just check the pressure at idle. A weak pump can often look just fine when the engine isn't working hard. The real test is to watch that gauge while someone revs the engine hard. If you see that pressure gauge dip when the demand for fuel goes up, you've found your culprit. That right there is the smoking gun for a failing fuel pump.
Now, just to be a good detective, we should quickly rule out a fluke failure on cylinder 8. It's unlikely, but it's a smart check. It's easy. Just swap the ignition coil and the spark plug from cylinder 8 with, say, cylinder 6. Clear the codes and run it. If the misfire moves to cylinder 6, well then you just have a bad coil or plug. But if the misfire stays on cylinder 8, you know for sure it's just a symptom of that lean condition.
So we figured out how to diagnose the problem. Now let's talk about the consequences of ignoring it, what the repair costs might look like, and then we'll wrap it up with our final plan of attack.
So why the big rush to fix this? Well, you're playing with fire here, almost literally. Driving with a really lean engine can cause crazy high combustion temperatures, which can lead to serious, expensive engine damage. And at the same time, that misfire is just dumping raw, unburned fuel straight into your exhaust, which will absolutely destroy your catalytic converter. This is not something you want to put off.
Let's just circle back to our whole philosophy here. Start simple, start cheap. The potential best-case scenario for fixing this entire mess is the cost of one can of MAF sensor cleaner. We're talking about $10. It is, without a doubt, the highest value first step you can possibly take.
But here's a look at the reality of the repairs. Best case, it's that $10 MAF cleaning. The worst case, and honestly the most likely culprit if the MAF isn't the issue, is a new fuel pump. That can run you anywhere from $500 to over $1,200 installed. This really shows you why proper diagnosis is so critical before you even think about buying parts.
Okay, let's put it all together one last time. Here is your final, actionable checklist. Number 1, clean that MAF sensor. If that doesn't fix it, number 2, test your fuel pressure and remember to do it under load. If the pressure is good, number 3, look for any big air leaks between the MAF and the throttle body. And finally, number 4, do that quick swap test on cylinder 8 just to be absolutely certain.
And that's really the question it all boils down to, isn't it? That confusing trio of codes, it's not so scary once you understand the story it's telling you. It's a global problem, and your whole investigation should start with the simplest, cheapest, and most common fix. So, could a 10-minute, $10 job be all that's standing between you and a $1,000 repair bill? Well, there's really only one way to find out.